I'm Mo Rocca, and I'm excited to announce Season 4 of my podcast, Mobituaries. I've got a whole new bunch of stories to share with you about the most fascinating people and things who are no longer with us. From famous figures who died on the very same day, to the things I wish would die, like buffets. All that and much more. Listen to Mobituaries with Mo Rocca wherever you get your podcasts.
Inspired by the life of the savvy and ambitious Colombian businesswoman Griselda Blanco comes a new Netflix original limited series. Griselda tells the story of a devoted mother who, with her lethal blend of charm and relentless savagery, creates one of the most powerful cartels in history. Witness Sofia Vergara's captivating transformation into the godmother of the underworld. Griselda, now streaming only on Netflix.
Burn again, burn again, burn again, ABCs.
Welcome to the Bare Naked ABCs, where we cover every song from 7 to Y. Why? Because we don't know why, and it's going to take us 5 years to do so. But welcome, everybody. We've got Jeff, Aaron, David, and Mr. Como.
Yeah, that was
pretty good. That was good. Yeah.
I think it really lightened the mood.
I think so too. Yeah.
I mean, just looking at my face,
lighten the mood.
You light up my life, Stefan.
Oh, fantastic! Yeah, speaking of moods,
oh wait, that's the wrong song.
You know, Jeff gets me into the mood.
That's the wrong Canadian. Right church, wrong pew.
So, as you can hear, we have Aaron, Stefan, and Jeff back this week.
We do.
Welcome, gentlemen.
Yay.
Hi, everyone.
Hey. Hi. Who's this
And
Aaron
joining
guy?
us, as he reminded me just a few minutes ago, for a second time, we have, from Helicopters episode, David Kincannon.
Woo.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome back,
It's
David.
wonderful to have you back.
It's wonderful to be back.
Welcome back.
And tonight we are going to be discussing the song Light Up My Room.
Hydro field cuts through my neighborhood. Somehow that always just made me feel good. I can put a spare bulb in my hand and light up my yard.
From what album, Aaron?
You light up my sand.
This was a tough one. It's an Ed song. That makes it harder to place. I think I distinctly hear Steven doing vocal harmonies, though, so it's safe to say we're on the first half of the discography. My first instinct is this is like Bare Naked Ladies Are Me or Men, but I think it might be a little earlier than that. I don't know. I'm really at a loss here. As far as I'm concerned, this could be like Bare Naked Ladies Are Me, or it could be Born on a Pirate Ship. It's not Gordon, I know that much. I can definitely tell that. It's...
You notice how he fishes around when he's
He's playing poker. He's waiting for a reaction.
I'm just like shaving down the possibilities in my mind.
He's doing that whole mind reading trick.
I wish his answer was a lot shorter.
It's like the amazing Kreskin of the podcast.
You and me both.
It's an Ed song, but it doesn't sound anti-Steve, so we've rolled out
it's pretty much. Listen, I can clearly not choose the album in front of you. Yeah.
I wish this answer didn't develop properly.
I can clearly not choose the album in front of you. I'm going to say Bare Naked Ladies Are Me, but that's just a shot in the dark. I don't think that's right.
We have an incorrect answer.
I'm even giving him hints like short answers, and
I know.
I wish his answers were deformed.
Hey Aaron, I do all my own.
Stunt. Okay. That doesn't sound like a lot of the stuff that I've heard off Stunt, though. That's the interesting thing.
It is not. It's actually one of those songs that really diverges from the rest of the album.
Yeah.
It's interesting that everyone keeps saying this is an Ed song because it's not credited to Ed. The music is credited to Ed, but the words are credited to Ed and Steven.
Yeah, I think that's what's unique about this one, because when you do hear this song, it does lyrically sound like a Steve song. I do feel more of a Steve vibe in the lyrics in this one, even though it's Ed singing it.
Interesting.
You do know
I do, yeah.
it's still credited to the person, even if they mentioned a second person's name.
I would be interested in knowing which part of the song you think, Jeff, that Ed wrote versus Steve wrote.
I definitely think Steve wrote the pre-choruses, or I guess what you would say the second lines. Like, late at night when the wire's in the wall, sing in tune with the din of the falls, I'm conducting it all while I sleep to light this whole town. I think that's a Steve line.
Really?
Yeah, I think that's a Steve line.
Interesting.
That could be construed.
Does anyone else have any other thoughts on that?
Uh-oh.
I don't know for sure. I'm just conversation.
Not lyrically, but musically, the last part of the verse section is one of my favorite parts of the tune because of the descending bass line down, the change in the chords, and then it's some of the only minor chords that we hear. So it's really it's kind of like a standout part of the song for me. So I don't know if he wrote both the musical parts and the lyrical parts to the end of the verse, that would make sense.
Steve wrote all the minor chords.
Yeah.
David, what do you think? Do you have an idea on this?
So to me, it feels like, personally, the way I have always kind of seen it is the verses feel more Ed-like, and then the chorus feels more Steven-like to me. Because the chorus, it has that kind of introspective quality, which is something that I associate more with Steven, and then because the verses have these sort of almost metaphorical, almost like a literary kind of vibe to them, like that, it seems like a subdued version of what Ed does.
And that was my thought too, because I know usually they swap off with verses, chorus, and then one of them does the bridge, but there's no bridge really in this song.
Right.
And I had that same feeling. I feel me personally, I think that the chorus sounds very Steven-like. And it's significantly different than the verses in terms of what it's singing about, what it's trying to say. And I think it'll be interesting for us to kind of tear that down and look at it a little bit. Because the lyrics for this with the verse and the choruses are, I think, different. Why don't we start with discussing about the lyrics, and we'll get to Aaron in a few minutes with the music. Not that he can't join in but I know he doesn't like lyrics.
Of course. Oh, I hate words. Yeah. No, but that does ruin. I had a great little segue transition from my breakdown, so
of course.
I'll have to improvise something else.
Oh no, I messed you up. I'm sorry, Aaron.
Yeah, don't have breakdowns on the podcast. That's
at least he brought his
notes.
We're
not therapists. Oh, Tracy is though.
Bring it on.
He might be able to help you.
Pile it on. I've been working in the horse stalls all day. I can take more.
Yeah? The horse stalls, huh? I thought you grew up near a hydro field.
Actually, I did, interestingly enough. Talking about hydrofields, Jeff, you did some research this week.
I did, and I think I've done it before because I've been listening to Stunned for a long time, and I was pretty sure I was curious about that lyric before. But for the show, I did want to double check that, and what is a hydrofield? And I'm glad I did because that was kind of interesting. And hydro in American lingo would imply water, I think, for most people, but I didn't realize that in Canada, hydro can refer to any form of electricity, regardless of where it comes from. So in this case, a hydrofield would essentially be the power cords, the power structures, the wires that cut through a community and maybe up the fields. Like I've always thought that was kind of something I was really interested and unique looking at when they cut up the field and you can see they cut up the mountains, you can see the cutout trees and everything. So that's what they're really referring to here in this case.
It's kind of like here in America where they're like, you get an energy truck coming to your house to deliver oil. It's not an energy truck, it's an oil truck. It's like, why do you call it an energy truck? Are you like delivering a tank full of electricity? What's going on? No, it's not. It's oil.
That has got to be a coastal thing. I've never heard that.
Come on, really? Boy, Do you get out?
Here comes the energy truck.
They're delivering Gungan energy balls.
Yeah, that's it. Aaron had to bring it to the balls. Fantastic.
I'm really on the ball tonight.
You know? So I you know, the first lyric is like I can put a spare bulb in my hand and light up my yard. So I think this is definitely a Tesla reference. Whereas like he's tapping into you know, the energy in the atmosphere.
Did you look up song meanings on this, Tracy? Because it does reference that. Yeah, apparently there was some reporter or something. Or some story about a reporter that went out to one of these hydro fields and lifted up the bulb, and they made a reference to that.
Yep.
Well, I was thinking of the movie The Prestige, where David Bowie plays Nikola Tesla. So I'm definitely on the same page.
But fantastic movie, by the way.
And there is a scene where he just lifts the bulb out, or he lifts the bulb, like he like screws it into the ground, and it just powers on.
Well, and a big controversy that was going on in the early 90s and into the late 90s was the fact that, and we're still exploring this, the fact that the electrical fields and the magnetic fields around these hydro fields could actually be potentially dangerous. And Ed picked up on that in a television report, and they were holding a spare bulb in their hand to show the charge that it can be in the air. And he's like, that's kind of cool, actually. I want to write a song kind of related to that.
They've linked autism to stuff like that as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Of course. It's messing with you. We're like, humans are, like, look at the Matrix. I mean, we're walking batteries.
We are bioelectric systems, yeah.
We are, yeah. So, I mean, of course it's going to mess
You know, David, other podcasts just talk about songs.
You know, hey.
We don't do that.
I like a wide reach. I think that's a good thing.
We have rabbit holes in our rabbit holes. Here, I thought all this time it was just a love song written from the perspective of Uncle Fester.
Oh, yeah, all right.
Oh, nice.
Oh, wonderfully done.
I mean, if we can do a song about Pinocchio's brother.
Right.
That's true. So Ed did have a statement on this, and I would like to kind of dive deeper into this. Ed's statement was, when people are attached to places that are not necessarily good for them, it was kind of inspired by the love canal notion of a place that becomes toxic, but for the people who live there, it's home, and they don't want to leave. And then we were thinking about neighborhoods that have power grids running over them, and there's this dispute about all the environmental influence of electricity over you all the time. I'm kind of a science nerd. And Tyler's like, despite the danger that's all around us all the time, we're living in a relatively dangerous place no matter if you think it's safe or not. Love can flourish and life goes on. And that's what this song is about.
I think you just ruined our interpretation.
Until there's like a kind of a cataclysmic event. Like, you know, dinosaurs aren't here, are they? You know, how many dinosaurs are like, you know, life just goes on. I'm going to buy a house by a hydro field, and, you know, I'm going to try to pick things up with my short arms and, you know, eat a cow. I mean, how many of these people are going to be like, they're dead?
Eat a cow?
No, the cow is a different song, Stefan.
I don't think the cows are around.
I mean,
we'll be covering the cows in a couple weeks.
Definitely not domesticated cows.
Jurassic cow.
Have you ever gone into the woods and seen a wild cow?
Stefan, I guarantee you, we will have plenty of time to talk about cows in about 3 weeks.
We'll talk about cows until the cows come home.
Oh yeah.
Gotcha. So
we're going to have so much cow
discussion.
discussion. Let's stay away from cows tonight.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, we'll get back to cows.
Hold on to all of it.
We'll get back to cows.
I don't get it, but that's fine. I was talking about dinosaurs.
Moving right
dying,
along.
You know? Could be tomorrow.
This is what happens when I don't have my notes in front of me and I can't derail the derail.
Yeah, Stefan, I have no beef with you, but I think we need to move on past the cow stuff.
Really? Fantastic.
Golf clap.
That was wonderful.
I'm a dad. Dad jokes are what I do.
Yeah. Well,
that was pure bullshit. That was just
It was one of the bovinest I've ever heard.
Well played, sir. Well played.
I am also
David,
a
you gotta
dad.
come back on here.
This
Yeah,
whole
you gotta come here
conversation
more
is
often.
bovine defecation, that's for sure.
So I like the idea that this song is really talking about like the positivity, about how you can be in love or how you can find these positive aspects in these really negative places in life.
Yeah, the second verse where they're talking about the shopping cart in the ravine and the foam on the creek is like popping ice cream. There's a field full of tires. It's always on fire.
Yeah,
It's like,
that's
what?
not love. What are you talking about? There's no love in the shopping
foam
cart
on
in the ravine.
The foam on the creek is like what?
I don't know. I got this off of a website, so I don't have the benefit of the back of an album. What are the lyrics, Mr. Official?
So no, that is a hard one to understand if you don't have the lyrics in front of you. The foam of the creek is like vomit ice cream.
Vomit ice cream?
Those are
What?
the
Wow,
official
that's
lyrics.
even
That's
even
the
better.
official lyric?
That is the official lyric.
I have always thought
What?
it was pop and ice cream. So like a root
Yeah,
beer
that's
float.
what
Yeah,
I thought. I
vomit
thought it was,
ice
yeah,
cream.
because
Root
when
beer
it foams up. Yeah. Vomit ice cream. Wow.
Vomit ice cream.
I'm double checking it right here.
Okay.
I've
just
got
broke-
this
you just
wrong.
broke my
I can
brain,
see
Tracy.
all
That
these
would be
years.
That would be a Steve line.
This is
Come on.
staying in because I wanted to point out that Tracy interrupted me to correct me.
If I get this wrong, I look like a fool.
With something ridiculous.
vomit ice
no
cream.
less.
Vomit ice
I mean,
cream.
look,
Vomit ice
if that's the case,
Pop?
then
No, it says pop and ice cream. Although I have seen places where it says
Ice
vomit
cream.
ice cream.
I was wondering
Yeah,
if maybe
well-
Birdie Bots had like branched out into new like they went away from jelly beans and went to ice cream.
yeah.
I personally
Every
like the
flavor
vomit
ice cream.
though better because it really gives a nice picture.
So there was the Boston Birdie Bots tea party where everybody just took all the vomit jelly beans and threw them in the creek. Created all kinds of foam.
Foaming, yeah.
But yeah, the second verse in particular, really, it kind of reminded me of, here's Aaron's deep cut weird reference for the night. Reminded me of Candide by Voltaire, right? Where like the whole novel is sort of deflating the idea of optimism. You know, you had the character of Pangloss who believed that we live in the best possible of all worlds, and he was so optimistic that basically his philosophy was it was senseless to try to change anything for the better. So that kind of reminded me of that. But yeah, it's interesting how I don't know if it's you want to call it nostalgia vision or rose tinted glasses or whatever, but we have a way of looking back at certain things, places, people, events, and maybe kind of painting them a slightly nicer shade than they actually are.
There is definitely a rose-colored glasses kind of vibe to this.
And that's what I like about it is, I mean, you're stuck. This song is stuck between some really two high energy songs. And this is the song that really kind of brings it down, is like that aperitif that, like, so we started off this album with 1 week. We then go to It's All Been Done. And then this is the, like, okay, we're going to take a step back a little bit. But even though it's a slower song, it's still very positive in its message.
And I really do like how they do such a good job of tying into light, both in a very literal and a poetical sense to bring it back to the chorus, which the chorus does feel to me to be a love story, the love story aspect of the song, if that's the case, or even family or friends or whatever. But, the electricity, the hydrofield is creating light. It's creating, physical light. And the wires in the walls, which I do love that second part of the first verse. I think that rhyme scheme and everything is just really solid. But that reference, the fire lights his way home. The literal fire from the burning tires lights his way home. But what does he want? He wants this person with him to light up the room poetically. And I love that. I love how they tie all that physical imagery back to the symbolism, which is really, really cool.
So if he's going to go over and be with somebody and lift that person up over everything to light up the room, do you think that's a sexual reference?
I was not going there, but go ahead. Follow along with that.
How can I follow up with a question I just asked you guys? You guys follow up now. I asked a question.
I was thinking more in a romantic sense. Like
I was
you
thinking
feel
romantically, yeah.
Electrified just being around someone or talking to
Maybe
them. Or whatever.
maybe
Your
it's because-
presence lights up the room.
Maybe it's because his lights are off and, there's static electricity. Have you ever, like,
Oh my
had,
gosh.
like, the lights off and it's like you stick your head underneath the sheets and it, like, zaps every now and then? It's like where you touch a pet and they're like, you see this little blue spark. It doesn't light up the room, but I mean,
I don't know, Stefan.
random...
Maybe she's just a really devoted acolyte, and he wants her to come over and light the candles.
That could be.
I was thinking more like an android, like just like she lights up the room that way.
Maybe they had a windstorm today and they lost power. Who knows? That's all I got.
But it feels like a nice, sweet song.
It does, yeah.
Sounds like an ice cream song. Is that what you just said?
No, it sounds like a nice, sweet song.
A nice, sweet song. Oh. I thought you said it was an ice cream song. Like,
Well,
you're
I mean,
making
that
me
is
hungry
in
now.
there. I got that line wrong for a long time.
Yeah, vomit ice cream, no less.
Vomit ice cream.
Yeah. Makes me
And that
want to go to the
didn't
supermarket.
lower your score thinking it was vomit ice cream?
No, because
I think that would change my score a
he's
little bit.
rose coloring like the worst possible picture.
Wow.
Like it can't get me. Can you think of anything worse than vomit ice cream?
Last year?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it took
2020
a while.
flavored.
The full on
Send
the
it
creek
back.
is like 2020 ice cream.
Send it back.
You've got to be an optimist to be able to see the positive in vomit ice cream.
That is true.
2020 ice cream would either be vomit ice cream or just frozen mud.
Why don't we discuss some of the music of this song? Since
Aaron,
I think we
break it down. Oh, can I do that? Am I allowed to do that?
That was good.
Been waiting my whole life for that.
Let the cartoon begin.
for at least 3 weeks.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, thanks, Jeff. So Light Up My Room was recorded at 62 beats per minute. More or less exactly, I think. They must have used a metronome or a click track on this one, which was one of the reasons why I thought this might have come from later in their library, but I was wrong. Written in the key of G major, it's one of those country ballad meets pop rock songs that would later become more emblematic of the band's work in general. I think it's a good example of that type of tune, and I do like it. The intro is very simple. It's just going back and forth between G and C, which is your tonic and your fourth degree, or subdominant, if you will. Back and forth. Arguably, it could be 1-5-4, which is basically the verse, but it's less defined. There's less going on. I think the bass might be implying those changes, but it's not really developed yet. The verse, though, as mentioned, very similar to the intro, but it's adding D in as a transition. So instead of 1-4-1-4, we get 1-5-4-1-5-4. Very standard, very, if you've heard that progression, it sounds familiar to you when you hear it.
And apparently half my catalog, as I'm finding out.
Well, I mean, half of rock music in general is like 1-4-5, 1-5-4. But interestingly enough, because we're talking about the tonic and the dominant and the subdominant, the first, the fourth, and the fifth degrees, everything is major, right? We're in a major key, we're playing the first, fourth, and fifth, so everything is major. Until the very end of the verse where we change it up and have this pretty little turnaround. You get B flat major to A minor to G. So you have a 3-2-1. It's a nice descending kind of walk down, and you get the bass walking down with it, which is lovely in my opinion. It's, like I said, it's probably my favorite part of the verse. The chorus, you're going to reverse that. So now we're ascending, right? So we have E minor, which is our 6th, to D, which is our 5th. Sorry, so 6-5-1. So we have E minor to D to G, but it's ascending because the D is in first inversion. So now the bass line is walking up, and then it connects back with the same ending as the verse, actually. So B flat, A minor, G, back down, descending to the tonic. There is no bridge, interestingly enough, but I'm kind of glad that we discussed the lyrics first, because when you guys were talking about how you thought maybe Steven was more responsible for the chorus, we always like to talk about, especially in Steven songs, where the bridge seems to be where he's kind of coming clean and confessing, and this is how I really feel. We get that almost that transition between the verse and the chorus, right? The verse is I'm ecstatic and everything's beautiful, even though the tires are on fire. And then the chorus is like, well, this is because, I'm in love with you. This is the reason I'm feeling this way. So, yeah, no bridge to speak of. We have our intro, which is like our A section, with, again, just kind of vamping between the two chords. Our verse 1, so we have B, chorus, C, verse 2, B, chorus, C, verse 3, B. And the outro, which basically just ends on the verse changes. So A, B, C, B, C, B, B. Is the structure of the song, more or less. Very, very nice extended outro. My favorite parts of the song are undoubtedly the descending turnaround I talked about, the vocal harmonies, especially on the chorus. There's some really nice ones. And the Hammond organ sounding keys we hear in the background. I really like the way they complement the jangly kind of country-esque guitar.
Well, and so the other thing that they do, and I wish I had mentioned this back with the lyrics, but I think we can mention it here with the music too, is they do something here that they don't do it with many of their songs at all. I feel like I've said that a lot in the last couple of weeks, but it's always something different. They're always mixing it up somehow. Is they're repeating that first chorus, that first verse again as their last verse, or at least a piece of it. And they don't usually do that. That's a very Beatles-esque type thing to do, and they do it here, but that's usually not how they do their music.
I concur.
Do you concur, Doctor? What did you guys think musically about the song?
So I really like. So one of the things that I notice is that they do go back and forth between the G and the G and the C in the verse, but there is an F sharp in the bass as in the second part. So you've got this G/F sharp chord, and I really like that sort of. It's not exactly a dissonance because of the way the voices are spread, but that G and F sharp against each other I really like.
Yeah, no, totally. It's that seventh. Yeah, it's a really, really close harmony, and it gives it a lot of flavor.
Yeah, for me, one of the big things I liked about the song was the harmonies, like Aaron mentioned. I love the harmonies in the chorus. Very BNL, Steve Ed harms. They do alter them a little bit, too, throughout the song, which I also liked. It wasn't always the same harm stack between the two of them, and so that was really cool. I love that little interlude after the chorus when there's the guitar kind of riffs up, the electric guitar, there's a volume shift. I think that's probably what Aaron was talking about with the Hammond organ, some of that you hear there. That section I really love. I don't know if I've always been sold on this song that it never feels like it actually has a hook. Because even though Aaron pointed out that the chorus does structurally change the organization of the chords a bit, it doesn't ever feel like there's a hook to this song to me. And maybe that's just me.
No, I think that the acoustic that Ed is playing in the background feels like more of a skeleton than it does a hook, but it really is a beautiful piece. Like when you listen to the bathroom sessions, you can really see him and the transitions he's going on, and it is really amazing to watch him.
I thought the music was quite simple, and don't really know what to make of it. It's kind of got a weird tone to it where I'm like, I'm not sure if I like it, nor do I hate it. Sounds kind of weird to me, but I could definitely tell that it was simple. That's okay for me. There's no weird kazoos playing, and no hoops and hollers and wacky stuff going on. It's a pretty straightforward song, and I can dig that.
I was a little surprised when I was looking at song meanings and some other sites and even YouTube when I was looking at the comments, which I am. It is kind of a guilty pleasure for me. A lot of people did list this as their favorite BNL song.
Interesting.
I saw that a lot. Like a lot of people said this is their favorite BNL song. David's raising his hands, which that I thought was kind of a really unique stance, honestly.
Apparently, it lights up more than just their room.
There you go.
David, is this your favorite BNL song?
I don't know that it is my absolute favorite, but it is certainly up there. I think this song has it is simple. I think it has a beautiful simplicity to it. The way that arpeggiated chord plays throughout is I really love the way that sounds. I think there's an interesting dynamic here in terms of the way the lyrics line up in terms of verse versus chorus, where you kind of move from this look at the world around you and how that affects the way that you look at love. And I think it's really beautiful. I think it's a beautiful way of looking at life. You could argue that it could also be negative in that you're not being realistic with yourself. But ever since I first heard this song when I bought Stunt in the summer of '98, this song has stuck out to me as just such a beautiful piece.
I do agree with you, David, a lot on this actually too, because I kind of feel that as well, that there's something to be said about songs and a perspective of life, which is, our situation is not great. Things are not good. I mean, you could look at last year and say that. Not to get too deep, but last year sucked for pretty much everybody.
It could easily get worse, Bell.
But there were things, at least for me, and I know, I'm always worried about saying this because I know a lot of people had a much worse year, and I get that, but I know that there were things that made the year better. I mean, my 2-year-old, that was the only life he knew, was life in the pandemic. As crappy as it was, we had our little house and our little, we don't have a lot of means and a lot of things, but being able to see him grow in that time was still something. And I think there's something to be said about that you can look around your environment and say, I might not have wealth or luxuries, right? But I know how I feel about you. I know how I feel about my significant other or my kids or my family, and somehow that makes it better. Even with the garbage around us or the power wires or the danger, at least we have. Life is short, and we're happy with what we have.
Find the beauty where you can. Yeah, it kind of reminded me of in American Beauty, when the kid, is it Ricky, says he finds the plastic bag blowing in the wind to be beautiful. It's kind of like that.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking more Life is Beautiful, but where you can find beauty even in
there you go.
Even in the concentration camp,
Well, it's a bit more of an extreme example, but sure.
Yeah,
if you like.
Then the plastic bag.
I'll take the plastic bag personally.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right.
I love that perspective on life, that it's not just ignoring the negatives, but finding a way that the negatives can some way be a boon in your life. And there's a way that it can actually help your life. The burning tires that are always going up around our house. That just lets me know where in the city I'm going to, so I can get my way home to you.
It really is a song you can see. Using that line, I think that's one thing that sticks to me. Like that, you can see this song. You can see walking, but even using that kind of negative imagery of just, not even negative, but the burning tires. But there's a benefit to those burning tires. They light my way home.
And they stay lit for a long time.
And the smell is great.
For me,
but I want to argue with you, Stefan, real quick, because you had said earlier that this is a really simple song and there's no extra kind of stuff in the background. And I'm wondering if that might have been the speakers that you were listening through, because for me, the speakers I was listening through, I was picking up Kevin throughout this song this week, and he is just adding a whole bunch of little tiny things in the background, not just that Hammond organ and the piano, but also we have there's these little sound effects that he adds in throughout moments that give you it contextualizes this song and makes it kind of have that uplifting feel that I think without those pieces are missing. That being said, and we also have a really interesting component that we haven't really talked about, which is the feedback, which goes in and out throughout all of the song as well.
I think what he's trying to say, Stefan, is that he's sorry that all the budget for your better audio equipment went to my trailer. So my apologies.
No, that's fine. My speaker is going through 6 layers of an otter box, so it's on my phone, It's I don't even want to tell you where this thing's been.
If people actually do sign up for our Patreon and we actually are pulling even, or even maybe a little better than pulling even on this podcast every year, then maybe I will spring for those speakers for you, Stefan.
Yeah. Thanks. Well,
Hashtag speakers for Stefan.
I should have a GoFundMe page.
Join the conversation.
Half
we do. It's called a Patreon.
With whining cat requires speakers.
Man, we're gonna see that thing explode when we finally get Urethra on here.
Oh man. Well, for me, this song really reminded me of when I was a kid. My brother and sister and I used to go sledding in the winter.
You still are a kid.
At this, my gray hairs disagree with you, but I'll take it. But yeah,
Tracy
we used to
had
go.
Gray hairs at 18.
We used to go sledding at this hill that was basically like the power lines drifted down the hill. So that there was like a clearing around the power lines, and then we could go and find it, and we could always sled down there. So yeah, I got a very strong like visual sense from this. I would agree with Tracy that, or with Jeff and Tracy that you can really see the song.
Like where we're at, I mean, we're based out of Maine. I mean, you know, most of us are here in Maine, so there's a lot of guns per capita up here. So it's like when we hear about power lines and the clearings, that's prime hunting area for us, you know. So it's like that's all I think of is my dad going and sitting on the power line and trying to shoot something, you know.
Did you say sitting on a power line?
Well, that's what they call it. They go and they sit on the power line.
Oh, okay.
Just, they don't literally climb up there.
Okay.
You sit on the hydro field in order to be able to catch them as they come out in the clearing.
I just had a vision of Stefan's dad like sitting on a power line with like birds on either side of him going, "We're going to get that buck today."
It's like that one Pixar short.
Yeah, right. That's when the power line goes down. And, yeah, the birds are like tapping on his fingers. Yeah.
So I had two more notes. I'm pulling us away before this gets really bad because I see this is going down a dark path quickly.
Hey, I'm doing all right.
I have two more notes about the music. One, I want to give a shout out to Susan Rogers because she actually suggested making this song more soulful, and I think that it works. I think pulling it away from that, I'm guessing before it was more country feel, and giving a little bit more of that soulful type feel, I think works for this song.
Which is weird, because wasn't it her that on a previous song like 3 weeks ago said make it more country?
Yep.
I was going to say.
With Leave, she's like, make that more country.
Yeah, make that more
soulful.
country, right.
But I have to agree with her on her choices. Like, I'm like, yeah, that totally works. But the other thing I wanted to bring up was the drums. No one's mentioned the drums, but Tyler is doing some really interesting stuff in the background that gives texture to the song.
Yeah, it is a solid band piece. I think when you listen to this the first time, at least, I mean, maybe I'm guilty of this, is I heard a lot of the Steve Ed Show, which is what BNL was at that point during Stunt. It was pretty heavily the Steve Ed Show. We mentioned Kevin is doing a lot of really great stuff, like the Hammond organ pieces, the bits that are going on, especially during the instrumental breaks and everything. But yeah, Tyler's percussion on this is really solid. It is a band piece.
You can actually hear it really well at the end when all the rest of the instruments...
right, when you're doing in the outro, during the outro. It is definitely a full band piece. It gives a good perspective on what the guys can do together, even on a very subdued song.
Well, and speaking of how it was the Ed and Steve show, like once Steven left, this song changed. Weirdly enough, it changed immeasurably. Because then they did it again for Red Rocks Live, their live album, and it is not the same song. Words same, the actual chords are the same, but they switch it up, and I don't know what their reasons or thoughts were on doing this, and I'm not disagreeing with them, but it's very different. Where Kevin is playing the guitar part, the acoustic guitar part, but he's playing it on the keys. And it's a very different take. I don't know how to describe this completely different feel that it gives to the song.
How many times have they played this live?
Seems like it would be quite a popular song to play in a concert. Because, I mean, if Ed is singing, he can easily step in and cover the lyrics easily on this one, I think. And sound relatively the same.
It's been played 213 times in concert.
See, I said it was going to be popular.
Yeah.
So it was pretty popular, and since it was on one of their major albums, that doesn't surprise me. But it's number 19 out of all their songs.
Wow, it's impressive. What's number one?
It's one that they play quite often. Number one is, of course, If I Had $1 Million, which they play at every concert.
And number 2 is 1 Week.
And no, number 2 is Brian Wilson, interestingly enough.
Oh, okay.
Excellent choice.
Followed directly behind by 1 Week, yes.
Well, yeah.
See, Gordon.
My guess is that it would be higher
That's the
if
album.
1 Week didn't come out like 8 years later.
Right.
Yeah, they still play this regularly in concert, like tons in 2019, tons in 2018, like almost every concert in 2018.
Wow.
Well, I gotta fill their set with something.
Has Steven played it in the live set?
I mean, they should start bringing in some snack time songs into their concerts. Just to liven it up.
Sorry, it's going to take me a minute. Continue on.
Gosh.
You don't have to. Okay.
Dave, you're not saying anything. You need to contribute.
Rhode Island is neither a road nor an island. Discuss.
Duran Duran was neither a Duran nor a Duran. Discuss.
No, but they were hungry.
Like a wolf?
Like a wolf.
It doesn't say that he has, but I have heard that he has played every single every single song from BNL on his live from home shows. So my guess would be yes, indeed, he has. I don't know if Steven has covered this in the live from home shows. I can't find that for sure. I wish Allie could. Allie, you can write into us. You know this. You go to the concerts every week. You can tell us for sure. Go ahead and send us an email. But I do know that there was one band that did cover this song, and it was Cornbread Red on their album where they did all the different songs with a bluegrass touch, and they did this one with bluegrass. Doesn't sound significantly different, but it's interesting. I'll put a little piece of it in right here.
There are luxuries we can't afford, but in our house we never get bored. We can dance to the radio station that plays in our teeth.
So Jeff, what are we ranking tonight?
There's only one possibility for tonight.
Light bulbs, festers,
and it has, huh?
Vomit ice creams.
It has to be vomit ice cream cones.
Oh, I knew it was coming.
You had to know that was coming. Yes, this is on a scale of 0 to 5 vomit ice cream cones.
Is this like golf then, where the fewer vomit ice cream cones?
Wondering the same thing.
Yeah, usually, right? Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Who's going first?
David.
Okay, so as I've already said, this is absolutely one of my favorite BNL songs. So I mean, it gets a pretty high rating. I would have to go 4.5 vomit ice creams.
4.5. Aaron.
It's a really, really nice song. I think it's really well done. I'm not sure it's in my favorite. I was really kind of soul searching as to whether or not it would be up in the 4s, because that means it would be on my personal playlist or whatever. I think it's just bumping up against that, so I'm going to give it an enthusiastic 3.9 vomit ice cream cones out of 5.
I will follow that, Aaron, because I'm right there with you. I should have gone first. I was in the same boat. I was like, there's part of me that wants to put it into the 4s, because there's a lot I like about this song. I like the imagery of it. I like the fact that, you can see this song so well. It does cover a topic I like, which is that you can be happy during dark times or when things aren't great. Musically, I just can't quite get it to the 4s, so I actually have this at a 3.8. A very enthusiastic 3.8, I might add. I do enjoy this song. I don't know if it'd be on a regular playlist for me, though. Stefan, sorry. I zoned out.
That's all right. Boy, you're like... You're doing well tonight, Jeff.
Okay, you know what?
I'll just leave it at that.
I had a busy weekend.
Well, excuses. Stop being such a sissy. You're a man, right? Suck it up. Stop doing all these extracurricular junk things.
Stefan,
Anyways.
How did you rate the song?
Well, it's a simple song. I started listening to it and I started falling asleep. I I had to read the
Poor
lyrics.
David. He's like,
No,
this is my
it's
favorite
fine.
song ever.
I had to read the lyrics in order for them to really mean something for me. Even then, I'm like, I don't know what the hell hydrofield is, so I had to look it up. Then I'm like, well, that really downplays the meaning of this song or the importance of it quite a bit to me. But I think it's average and above average, and the music is quite simple. Lyrics are quite simple. But would I put it on a playlist? No, I find it too boring. So for me, it's going to be a 3.
A 3.
Which is
Okay.
actually not that bad because,
No, we've talked about that. 3 is good. It's above average.
you guys say that they're like playing instruments well and the lyrics are good, so I'll take that as a,
David,
for
you should
them
see
there.
the looks every week, by the way, when we have a guest on and I tell them that my favorite B&O album is Maybe You Should Drive. So, I'm like, oh, that look right there says it all. Tracy.
So this is on one of my favorite B&L albums, and I think that it gets a bit of a bump, or at least in years past, it has gotten a bit of a bump. For that exact reason, it's stuck between 2 songs that I absolutely love, and I think it's perfect right where it is in this album. It gives me that nice little down when I've just been coming off some really great pumped up music, and I'm wanting to hear something that's a little bit more meaningful. And I feel like that's what this song gives me, is that little bit more meaningful moment to kind of pause and think and still feel positive. And I love that it does that. Do I listen to it every single time? Every time it comes on, I do. Do I seek it out? No. But every single time this comes on, I sing with it, with the wrong lyrics, obviously. And I sing with it every single time. And I actually really enjoy this song, and the sentiment that it brings. So for that reason, I'm going to give it a 3.75.
I am the outlier.
Well, I think
No.
Stefan evened you out because
That's true.
3.79 is our average. So
That's
yeah,
perfect.
I think the 3.9, 3.7 group is still like,
Sure,
we
no,
like
yeah,
this
yeah,
song. You
Oh,
know,
yeah.
it's really
Oh,
good.
yeah.
it is still stronger than most songs on the
Yeah,
radio.
oh yeah, easily.
So I do have the appearance for this week. The appearance this week is randomly rolling through here.
And there it goes.
I had it, but I lost my papers.
If
this
you
week.
blink, you're gonna miss the appearance this week, people. That's all we're gonna say.
Why? Why are you doing this to me?
Who? Me?
Am I the only one that you do this to?
Am I the only one who loves them?
Oh, I thought you were going Melissa Etheridge.
No.
Do you think?
Walk across the fire.
Oh, only you, Aaron, would come up with that.
I didn't think that was that deep a cut, but I don't know.
No, I didn't think that was a deep cut.
No, only you, Jeff, would make those cuts on me that you do, but, whatever.
Not just me.
I refuse to be your lilac girl.
Oh, that was cheap. That was cheap.
That was a
only
reach.
you was the other title for it at first.
That was a cheap one.
Gonna have to start calling you Stretch Armstrong, Tracy.
Hey, you fit lilac girl into a comment. I have the hard work of doing that every week.
Yes, you do.
Well, everyone's
But
comparing.
we do have.
Was that
an
one
appearance.
scripted?
What?
Was that one scripted?
No.
Or you just okay?
I appreciated that was off the top of your dome.
That was really good. Yeah.
I was gonna say everyone's comparing Bitcoin to Tulip Mania, so maybe you could have gone with that route.
Lilac, tulip. That's even more of a stretch, I think.
I mean, we're both. At least we're in the agricultural world.
Well, speaking of agriculture, I'm
Horticulture.
going to bring us back to our appearance. Once again, we discussed a couple weeks ago how Ed worked with Donovan Woods on his song "Man-Made Lake." He also helped to co-write and make the song "God Forbid" during the pandemic, and so that is our appearance for this week for people to go out and listen to, and I highly recommend it. It's a beautiful song.
Why?
Stefan, You were asking earlier how people can reach out to us. Well, people can reach out to us on barenakedabcs@gmail.com, or they can reach us on Facebook or Twitter. Twitter is where Jeff will get back to you, and not me. I'm not going to get back to you. I'm horrible at Twitter. The whole point of Twitter is just gone on me. Like the idea that you're supposed to write it immediately and be spontaneous. That as you
Me,
can tell,
who has no life, however, boom, I'm right there.
But more importantly, David, where can people find more of you?
You can find me on Twitter. My handle is DWKII. I do not podcast anymore. I used to podcast. There is still a show out there called Everlasting Minute, which was a minute-by-minute breakdown of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, the 1971 original. And then
worth doing.
Exactly. That's where we stopped because there was no point in going on. Also, I am a sort of adjunct member of the soon-to-be-named network, a podcast network. I'm sort of the in-house composer for jingles and stuff. So that can be found at soon-to-be-named-network.com or STBN Network on Twitter.
So wait. Have you named it, or you just haven't?
No,
named it
that is
yet?
that is the name of the network. Is the soon-to-be-named network.
Okay. That's pretty cool, actually.
Yeah.
That's like a who's on first thing that can just go
that's
on
that was my friend Joe's brainchild way back a few years ago. So.
And then if he changes it, he can say, "I told you all this time."
Exactly.
We got around to it.
Yeah. So you can check us out there. I've done jingles. We've got a few wrestling podcasts, comic book podcasts. We've got political podcasts. There's a podcast devoted to Marvel Puzzle Quest. So you can check that out again, soon-to-be-named-network.com.
Oh, yeah, there it is.
Excellent.
And he's a Denver Nuggets fan, by the way.
I am a Denver Nuggets fan. That is right.
Well, thank you very much for joining us, David. It was wonderful to have you once again.
Thanks,
It was
David.
wonderful being on. I appreciate you guys having me back. It was a lot of fun.
Good to talk to you, David.
And join us next week as we discuss a very, very deep-cut Lilac Girl.
Be there or be a lilac. I don't even know what that means, but I mean it really hard.
Thanks, that was fun. Don't forget, no regrets, except me.